Good morning, class. Today we're going to discuss organization and formation of a corporation. Our learning objectives will be to define the corporation and briefly identify its characteristics. So by its characteristics, we define corporation. Identify and discuss the advantages and disadvantages of a corporate form of organization. Identify and discuss the various classes of corporation. Identify the components of a corporation and the steps in organizing it. Identify the different types of records that are maintained by a corporation. Identify and differentiate the two classes of share capital issued by a corporation. Identify the basis used in recording the issuance of share capital. Record the transaction relating to the issuance of share capital using memorandum entry method or the journal entry method. Okay, let's summarize muna this learning objectives. The definition of a corporation. So, a corporation is defined as an artificial being created by operation of law, having the rights and powers, having the right of succession and the powers, attributes, and properties expressly authorized by law or incident to its existence. So it has the following characteristics based on its definition. Una, it has legal and separate entity with personality of its own. So, yung sa accounting, yung sole proprietor at saka yung partnership, separate, they are considered as separate entity. Yun lang yung term. Pero dito, legal entity. So, anong pagkakaiba ng dalawang words na yun? So, it is created by operation of law. So, hindi ka makakakita ng corporation other than in the perception of the mind. Walang concrete image ang corporation because it is an idea created by operation of law. It has the right of succession. Ibig sabihin, pwede tong makamana at pwede tong magpamana. Yun yung right of succession. It has the powers, attributes, and properties authorized by law. Lahat ng powers and properties of the corporation are only those authorized by law. Kapag hindi yan ino-authorize ng batas or hindi relevant dun sa inauthorize ng batas, hindi yan pwedeng gawin ng corporation. So, very limited lang yung capacity ng isang corporation kasi ano lang to creation ng mind ng tao, and it should not be beyond, its power should not be beyond and over the powers of natural individuals. Its ownership is divided into shares known as share capital. So, ang tawag doon sa capital ng corporation, hindi na i-identify as capital ni A, capital ni B, or capital ni in a partnership, di ba? Maraming capital names, A, B, and C. A capital, B capital, C capital. Kapag partnership, pag sole proprietorship, A capital only, or B capital only, or C capital only. Pero pagdating sa corporation, nawawala na yung pangalan. Kasi nag-create na ng bagong identity or bagong entity. Ayan yung corporation. Nilalagyan natin ng bagong pangalan yung corporation. So, hindi na ma-identify kung anong pangalan ang ilalagay based dun sa owners. Kasi marami ng owners marami ng shareholders or stockholders. So, ang pangalan na lang ng capital ay share capital. Its management is vested in the board of directors elected by the shareholders. So yung corporation, ang mga owners ng corporation ay tinatawag na shareholders. Tapos, hindi ang shareholders mismo ang nagmamanage ng corporation. Kung hindi, yung ine-elect nila na members ng board of directors. So, among the members of the board of directors, mag-e-elect sila ng president, vice president. So, and other officers of the corporation. Hindi mismong yung shareholders. Unless the shareholder is also a member of the board of directors. So the next one is discuss the advantages and disadvantages. So ano-ano yung mga advantages and disadvantages of a corporate form of organization. It enjoys a continuous existence because of its power of succession. So yung San Miguel Beer, ang tandaan na niya, diba? San Miguel Corporation, yan mga matatandang Bank of Philippine Islands. Nag-i-exist sila perpetually, almost perpetually, because of the right of succession na ipapasa kasi nila sa susunod na members ng board of directors. For as long as they are performing good, habang kumikita sila and they are not being declared bankrupt, tuloy-tuloy yan. Okay? It can obtain a strong credit line because of its continuous existence. So, habang tumatatag yung company, gumaganda yung kanyang credit line. At nakakakuha siya ng maraming investors from the public. There are more investors enabling them to raise fund. Kasi yung public mismo yung bibili sa kanila ng mag-i-invest sa kanila. Kaya nga meron tayong Securities and Exchange Commission. The public is protected by the Securities and Exchange Commission in dealing with corporations. Kailangan legitimate corporations lang mag-i-invest yung mga tao. Kaya masyadong mahigpit ang regulation sa mga corporation kasi nag-create ka ng artificial na tao na pauutangin mo ng pera ng publiko. Kaya dapat scrutinize mo muna kung legitimate nga yung corporation na yan or tao na yan. Investors have limited liability. Kapag ikaw ay stockholder or shareholder sa isang corporation, hindi na masasubject yung personal property mo sa liability ng corporation. Hindi katulad ng partnership at saka ng sole proprietorship. Kapag may utang yung business mo, kahit na yung personal assets mo ay mako-confiscate para lang mabayaran yung utang ng business. Pagdating sa corporation, walang ganyang liability ang shareholder or stockholder. Take note na minsan ginagamit ko shareholder, so minsan stockholder because under the old law, ang tawag doon ay stockholder, yung may-ari ng mga stocks na inisyu ng corporation. Pero ito kasi ang bagong pangalan ngayon ng stock ay share, hindi na stock, kundi share capital na. Kaya ang tawag doon ay hindi na stockholders kung hindi shareholder. So, huwag kayong malilito kung naririnig nyo yung stockholder, ang ibig sabihin lang nun ay shareholder. Nung nag-aaral ako, 1981, stockholder ang tawag at saka stock ang tawag doon sa capital. Ngayon, ang tawag ay shareholders and share capital na. Okay? So, Maraming nabago na terminologies during the time na nag-aaral ako at ngayong time na nagtuturo ako. So, nire-reconcile ko na lang. Number 5, share capital are transferable without need of consent of other. Diba sa partnership, natatandaan nyo, bago magbenta yung partner sa iba, kailangan lahat ng partners mag-agree doon sa bentahan ng kanyang capital sa partnership. Otherwise, there would never be a valid contract of sale of share in the partnership. Pero when it comes to corporation, yung shareholder or stockholder, without the consent of other stockholders or shareholders, can transfer the share capital to another person. Now, number 6, it has a smooth operation because of centralized management. O hindi lang isang tao o hindi lang yung partners yung magmo-manage ng business. There is a wide range of select people from which the corporation can select managers or supervisor or officers of the corporation. Maraming pagpipilian dahil maraming pwedeng i-elect to be members of the board of directors, and from those people pwedeng magkaroon ng magandang members ang management team. So, ito naman yung disadvantages. So, yan yung mga advantages, ito yung disadvantages. It is subject to more government control. Katulad nga ng sinabi ko, kasi ang corporation ay artificial being. Hindi pa natin alam, although nag-create ang batas ng ganyang klaseng artificial being or artificial na tao at artificial na person, hindi natin alam how it will move and how it will grow as a business entity. So masyadong maraming government control yan. Under direct supervision talaga yan ng government. Kasi creation niya to eh. Hindi naman yan natural eh. Ginawa lang yan ng world. Nag-e-exist lang yan sa world of commerce. Kaya nga when I was studying, I was wondering bakit hindi na ako maunawaan ng mga kausap ko. Kasi sa accounting, ang pinag-aaralan natin ay hindi nauunawaan ng karaniwang tao because these are matters only apprehensible only in our minds. Ito yung mga bagay na nag-i-exist lang sa utak natin ng mga nag-aaral nitong accounting na ito. Kung hindi nag-aaral ang isang tao ng accounting, hindi niya mauunawaan itong mga bagay na to. So when we become a professional, only another professional can understand what you are saying. Kahit na mahal mo yung nanay mo, yung kapatid mo, yung tatay mo, kung hindi naman sila nag-aral ng accounting, this cannot be a topic of your conversation. Hindi niyo ito pwedeng pag-usapan. From your, with this education, you are being detached from your family kasi hindi na nila alam kung ano ang alam mo. So do not expect your family to understand you as you become a professional because you are living now in a different world. You live in a world of commerce and you deal with the people in commerce. Number 2 is it is subject to more taxes. Malaki yung rate ng tax ng corporation, 30%. So, and then lahat ng activity niya, maraming may taxes kasi lahat recorded, lahat documented because it is really being regulated. It is costly to organize. Maraming gasto sa pag-organize kasi you have to pay sa SEC ng registration, kailangan mong bumayad ng lawyer for the drafting of the articles of incorporation. Maraming dapat bayaran incidental to the organization of the corporation. Its credit capacity is weakened by limited liability of the stockholders. Although marami kang pwedeng mautangan, pero yung mga uutangan mo, nagiging very cautious kasi nga limited yung liability ng shareholders, makakokolekta lang sila sa corporation. At if hindi pa matatag ang corporation, hindi pa establish yung corporation, very very careful pa ang mga investors at hindi sila masyadong nag-i-invest lalo na sa mga baguhan na corporation. Yung mga mga well-established na corporation at long-running na talaga, yan, madali yan maka-raise ng credit line or mag-increase ng liability nila. Pero yung mga bago, hirap pa yan. There is a more, number 5, restrictive participation by shareholders in the conduct of corporate affairs because management is vested in the board of directors. Yun lang talaga. Kahit na ikaw yung shareholder, sabihin mong may-ari ka ng corporation, kung hindi ka naman member ng board of directors, wala kang participation directly dun sa affairs ng corporation. You only participate through the representation in the board of directors. Now, corporation may be classified into non-stock. These are a common classification. No? There are other classifications, but these are the common classifications of the corporation. Stock or non-stock corporation. Ibig sabihin, nag-i-issue ng share, certificate of share yung stock. Yung non-stock corporation, hindi. Ang tawag lang sa kanila ay members. Wala silang hinahawakan na stock. Hindi sila tinatawag na stockholder. So, kapag sinabing stockholder ka, you are a member of a stock corporation. Pag sinabi kung may-ari ka ng corporation pero wala kang stock, then you are a member of a corporation. Yan yung tatandaan nyo. Hindi tinatawag na stockholder yung owner ng non-stock corporation, kundi member. So if you have an investment in a non-stock corporation, you are merely called member, not a stockholder. So private, public, private, and quasi-public corporations. When you talk of public corporations, ito yung municipal corporations. These are corporations created by the Congress. So kung hindi yan created by Congress, it is a private corporation and it is registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Ano yung quasi-public corporation na tinatawag? Yung mukha silang public corporation pero private corporation sila talaga. So ito yung common misconception na akala nila ang GSIS, PhilHealth, SSS ay government corporations. No, ang tinatay public corporations. These are quasi-public corporations. Ang public corporation lang na tinatawag ay yung national government, the Office of the President and all its departments. The municipal government, the municipal, city, provincial government, and all its branches or offices. And then the barangays. Ito lang talaga yung public corporations because they are dealing with the governmental functions of the government. Yung private, commercial, yung mga commercial commercial businesses na nag-engage sa profit generating activities or charitable non-profit but for the benefit of its member, yung non-stock corporations. Pero hindi sila part ng Philippine government or public corporations. Registered sila with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Ang gumagawa sa kanila or nag-create sa kanila ay ang members ng Board of Directors. Ang members na ang nag-create sa corporation ay yung mga incorporators pala, sorry. Mga incorporators. Now, yung quasi-public corporation, yun yung mga private corporation dealing largely with public activities are somewhat governmental kasi masyadong nagkikater sa public needs katulad nga ng GSIS, SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig. Kung titignan mo, nakadiretsong service sila sa mga tao pero ang purpose nila rin ay income. At saka ang pag-create sa kanila is not by legislation but by the creation of by special purpose, hindi yung talagang for governmental purpose. So they are called quasi because they look somewhat a public corporation but they actually are not. Ang ibig lang naman sabihin ng word na quasi is somewhat, parang. Kaya parang public corporation pero hindi. Anong ibig sabihin nun? Private corporations dealing or exercising some form of public service. Okay? De jure or de facto corporation. Pag sinabi nating de jure, nag-comply lahat yan sa requirements ng law. Jure means law. And facto, fact. Ibig sabihin ng de facto naman, nag-require, almost naka-accomplish ng lahat ng requirements for the creation of a corporation pero hindi perfect yung pagka-organize niya as a corporation. Siguro may mga ilang steps na kulang. So hindi mo pa mako-consider technically as a de jure corporation. So yun ang tinatawag na de facto corporation when not fully registered or not fully acknowledged as a legal entity. So yun yung sinasabi, hindi pa siya naka-acquire ng legal entity. So for public purposes, hindi pa siya ganun kilala na legal corporation. But as between the parties, no? Kunyari, yun yung pagkakaiba ng de jure sa de facto. Pag de jure corporation ka, you hold out to the public na isa ka ngang corporation. Ibig sabihin, walang pasubali kahit sinong tao ay meron kang status na corporation ka. But when it comes to de facto corporations, hindi ganon ang situation. Hindi sa lahat ng tao ay corporation ka. Only those people transacting with you, you can be considered as a corporation. Pero as to the public or as to the rest of people in the world, hindi ito kino-consider na corporation because of some requirements of the laws which have not been satisfied. Domestic or foreign corporation. So when the corporation is created and organized under the Philippine laws, then that is considered a domestic corporation. When organized and created under laws other than Philippine laws, then that is a foreign corporation. Open or closely held corporations. Pagka yung corporation ay talagang public, anybody can acquire a share in the corporation, then that is a open corporation. Pero kung limited yung or identified yung pwedeng mag-purchase ng shares ng corporation, then that is a closely held corporation. So the next is to identify the components of a corporation. A corporation has 7 components. The incorporators is sila yung nasa pasimula ng pagbuo ng corporation. Parang mga founders yan. Then the corporators, sila na yung ayos talaga ng pagsisimula ng business. Then mag-i-issue sila ng shares of stock. At pag nabili ito, ang tawag doon sa nakabili ay stockholders or shareholders. So kung non-stock yan, ang tawag dyan ay members. So yung mga promoters, subscribers. Ito yung promoters lang yung nag-ano ng shares of stocks or ng membership in a corporation, in a non-stock corporation. Yung subscribers, yun yung nag-promise ng intent na bumili. Yung mga underwriters, yun yung mga ahente sa bilihan ng shares of stock. The process of organizing the corporation is composed of 3 stages. So promotion, i-announce lang na may i-create na incorporation. Then incorporation, ito yung magpa-file ng articles of incorporation with the Securities and Exchange Commission. So magda-draft ng articles of incorporation. Mag-elect ng mga members of the board of directors, and then the commencement of the business. So, magpro-promote, mag-i-incorporate, at saka palang makakapagsimula ng business. So, identify the different types of records that are maintained by our corporation. So, ano-ano yung mga mini-maintain na records ng corporation? Sa sole proprietorship and partnership and corporation lang, journal and ledger lang naman ang mini-maintain ng ng business. Pero pagdating na sa corporation, meron ng minutes of the meeting of the board of directors, minutes of the meeting of the shareholders, at saka yung stock and transfer book. So bakit kailangan yan? Yung minutes of the meeting of the board of directors, kasi parang yan yung nagiging batas nila kung paano i-conduct ang affairs ng mga manager ng mga corporation. Kailangan nakaayon yun sa kung ano ang napagkasunduan ng mga members ng board of director. Pagka hindi yan within the law and within the within the authority given by the board of directors, hindi yan pwede maging action ng corporation. Yung minutes of the meeting of the shareholders, ito naman yung mga sinong ino-authorize nila na kasi nag-e-elect yung mga shareholders ng mga board of directors. Kailangan i-record din yung minutes of the meetings during election of members of the board of directors. Minutes of the meetings of shareholders. Stock and transfer book. Ito yung importante kasi dito naka-record kung ilan lahat yung members ng ilan lahat yung shareholders and ng stock corporation and ilan ang members ilan ang shareholders ng corporation. So at doon din naka-record kung kanino tina-transfer yung mga share of stocks. So kaya yung mga shares of stocks pre-numbered yun. So yung number nun hindi magbabago kasi yun yung authorized capital shares. Tapos opposite that, nakalagay na yung pangalan. So kung ano man yung movement dun sa share na yon, ma-identify. So through the use of, through the stock and transfer book. Ito dito parang diary yan ng yung stock and transfer book, diary ng corporation yan. Ito yung in-issue natin, ito yung in-authorize natin, ito yung in-issue natin na saan nakapangalan. Kani-kanino nakalagay. Doon mo lang makikita yung membership or ownership ng corporation. Identify and differentiate the two classes of share capital that may be issued by the corporation. So kahit anong klaseng corporation yan, dalawa lang yung pwede niyang i-issue na klase na share capital or stock, capital stock. Pareho lang yung share capital or capital stock. The share capital is either ordinary share or preference share capital. So, Both ordinary and preference share capital can be issued with par value, without a par value, but with stated value, or without par and without stated value. So hindi necessary na merong par value or stated value yung share capital. Pero mas madaling i-record kasi at ma-identify ang mga increases or gains kung gustong i-recognize kapag merong share or merong stated capital or par value. Okay? Identify the measurement basis in the issuance of share capital in exchange for various considerations. Okay. Ito pala yung number 7 natin. Ito. Lang muna natin. So this is identify the measurement basis in the issuance of share capital in exchange for various considerations. So kasi hindi lang naman hindi lang naman cash ang nagiging hindi lang naman cash ang nagiging contribution or investment or consideration in acquiring share capital. So we have to identify ano bang basis ng ng recording ng capital shares or share capital or capital stock. So ano ba ang pwedeng kapalit ng share capital or capital stock? Share capital may be issued in exchange for cash, non-cash asset, or services. So tatlo yung consideration. Pag sinabi mong consideration, yun yung pamalit, yung ang ipapalit mo dun sa value na nakuha mo. So pwede ka magbigay ng cash for the capital share or share capital. Then pwedeng asset other than cash or services. So tatlo yan pwedeng maging consideration. Paano mo lalagyan ng value yung mga considerations na yan? Sa cash walang problema kasi face value palagi ang basis ng cash. How about cash and non-cash? Okay? When share capital is issued for cash, the share capital is measured by the amount of cash received, meaning face value. When share capital is exchanged for non-cash asset, the asset received is recorded at its fair value. So, tandaan nyo, hindi yung book value, but the fair value. Unless the fair value cannot be estimated reliably. If the fair value of the asset received cannot be measured reliably, it will be recorded at the fair value of the capital, share capital issued. So may fair value din yung share capital. So dalawa yung basis mo. It's either the fair value of the asset given up in exchange of the share capital or the fair value of the share capital itself. Okay, so pag fair value ng asset na ibinigay ng shareholder, then that is a direct fair value. Kapag ang naging basis ay yung fair value ng share capital issued, that is an indirect measurement or indirect fair value. When the share capital issued is in exchange for services rendered. The services received is recorded at its fair value. So, paano malalaman yung fair value ng services? Paano malalaman yung fair value ng services? So, kung sa ibang businesses or corporation, may ganong service, magkano binabayaran yung ganong service? So, yun yung magiging basis ng recording ng share capital. Pero kung hindi available yung ganong valuation, hindi malaman kung ano ang fair value ng services, then the fair value of the share capital ulit. So, tandaan nyo ha, dalawang bagay lang. Una, cash. Kapag cash, walang problema. Kasi face value ng cash ang i-record natin. Pag other assets, fair value, assets other than cash, fair value ng asset or fair value ng shares of stock. Kapag services, fair value ng services or fair value ng shares of stocks. Okay? Record transactions relating, number 8 na tayo. Record transactions relating to the issuance of share capital using the memorandum entry method and the journal entry method. So, dalawang klase ang pag-record ng issuance of share of stocks. Pwedeng gawing journal entry or pwedeng gawing memorandum entry lang. So later on, pag-aaralan natin yung differences noong memorandum entry at saka journal entry recording of the issuance of share capital. So ito na yun. Tingnan natin ng mas in a chart form yung ating topic. So, ito yung corporation, ano yung nature niya. We have already discussed this in brief, no? Characteristics, advantages, classes, components, steps, right? Itong rights, wala pa tayo dyan. Corporate records, wala pa tayo dyan. So, itong components at saka steps na ano natin yan, in brief, no? In summary, we've already discussed that. Now, yung share of capital, wala pa tayong na-discuss dito. Ordinary share, preference share, cumulative, par value, stated capital na par value, wala pa tayo dyan. So, dun sa una nating diniscuss, ito pa lang yung naging ano natin. Na-cover natin somehow. Ito, nang medyo malinaw-linaw na. Okay? And then, issuance of share capital. Ito, meron na kayong idea kahit paano kung paano i-record yung share capital. Tapos yung considerations, meron na rin kayong cash, non-cash. Ito yung share capital subscription in default, wala pa tayo dyan. Okay? So, ito na yung parang mapa nyo. This is your map in understanding the topic on corporation. So, unahin na natin yung mga words na dapat nyong matutunan sa pag-aaral nyo ng corporation. So, authorized capital stock. Ano ba yung authorized share capital or authorized capital stock? Nagagamit ko yung lumang term kasi matanda na ako. Old dogs learn new tricks. Pero as for me, old dogs hardly learn new tricks. Pwede pa naman matutunan. So, authorized share capital. The total par value or stated value of the authorized share. It is determined by the authorized shares by the par or stated value of the share capital. Itong authorized share capital, ito yung napagkasunduan ng mga board members na bahagi ng capitalization, ng capital na kukuhanin nila sa mundo ng capital stock. Ang ibig sabihin sa world of commerce, meron kang tinatawag na available capital stock. merong gumagalaw dyan na capital stock. Meron diyang mga puhunan. Sa mundo ng komersyo, meron diyang floating capital stock. Ngayon ikaw bilang corporation, nag-create ka ng corporation, gusto mo kuhanin itong portion na ito dun sa world capital stock na yan at magpapa-authorize ka sa Securities and Exchange Commission para makalikom ng amount na yan from the public. So yan yung pag in-approve ka ng Securities and Exchange Commission for that authorized capital stock, pwede mo yan kuhanin sa publiko. Pwede ka mag-issue ng shares of stock para makalikom niyang tinatawag na authorized share capital. So kapag nagpa-approve ka ng share capital mo at dinivide mo yung share capital na yan into number of shares, yun yung maximum lang na pwede mong i-issue. Kunyari, nagpa-approve ka ng capital ng 100 ng let's say 3 million and dinivide mo yon sa 100 par value shares of stocks. O so divide mo yung 1 million by 100, yun yung number of authorized shares na pwede mong i-issue para makalikom ng 3 million na capital. So, na-discuss na natin itong corporation, itong delinquent subscription. Kasi sa corporation, yung corporation magpapa-authorize ng share capital yan. Tapos ipopromote nila na mag-i-issue sila ng ganyang share capital. Tapos may mga subscriber dyan. Magpa-promise sila na bibili sila. Pero wala pang payment dyan. Nagsusubscribe pa lang sila. Kapag nag-subscribe sila at hindi sila nakabayad in full ng kanilang subscription, tinatawag na iyong delinquent subscription. Ngayon, yung unpaid or delinquent subscription na yan, pwede yung ma-foreclose o ma-repossess ng corporation at ibenta sa ibang interested na investor. So, magkakaroon ng bidding for the sale of share capital. And the highest bidder, sa kanya i-award yung subscription ng delinquent share subscriber. Okay? Issued share capital. Kapag nabayaran talaga yung capital share na na-subscribe, then magkakaroon ng issued certificate. So, kaya na tinatawag na yung issued share capital. May corresponding, na yan, certificate of share capital. So, ano to? Ordinary share capital or common stock. Ito yung klase ng, di ba nasabi na kanina, na dalawang klase yung share capital. Ordinary share, dating tinatawag na common stock, ordinary or common. Ordinary share at saka yung preference share capital. Dapat dito natin ilagay itong preference share. O tatandaan niyo yung mga words, huwag kayong malilito. So, ordinary entitles the holder to an equal or pro rata division of profits without any preference or advantage over any class or share. Kapag ka merong natirang income for distribution to the stockholders, yun, mapupunta yun sa ordinary share capital holders. So, yung preference share naman, ito meron itong mga iba-ibang klaseng preferences. Pero ang nakakaboto lang ng mga members ng board of directors ay yung ordinary share capital holders or ordinary shareholders. Yung mga preference share capital holders or preferred stockholders, hindi sila nakaka-join sa election. Pero meron silang mga priority sa distribution ng dividends at distribution ng asset in case of liquidation. Kumbaga, ano lang parang creditor na creditor lang ang dating ng preference share capital. Hindi katulad ng ordinary share capital na pwede silang maging member ng board of directors. Outstanding share capital. So, una, imagine niyo meron tayong malaking source ng investment or capital. Malaking source ng capital. Tapos, magpapa-authorize tayo sa Securities and Exchange Commission ng capital na gusto nating makuha from that malaking pool of capital. So, a-approve yan ng SEC. Ngayon, i-divide natin yung authorized capital na yan into common share or preference share. Ngayon, i-promote natin yan, ibebenta natin yan sa public para makakuha tayo ng capital. So, kapag pinromote natin at may nag-subscribe, i-record natin sila as subscribers. So, i-collect natin yung pera sa kanila. Kapag hindi sila nakabayad, mako-consider sila na delinquent subscriber at pwede itong ibenta sa highest bidder. Ngayon, yung iba naman, okay magbayad, so marirecord yung kanilang subscribe capital stock na nabayaran as an issued capital stock or share capital. So, kapag nabayaran, mag-i-issue ng certificate, tatawagin na yon na yung subscribe dati, tatawagin ng issued share capital. So, kapag may par value, yung in-issue na share certificate, that is a par. Kung may value na naka-indicate doon, yun yung tinatawag na par value or stated value. Tignan nyo kung ginamit na term ba ay par value. Kung ginamit yung word na par, then that is a par value. Kung ginamit na word ay stated value yun. Kung wala yung word na par at wala yung stated value, anong tawag doon? That is the face value. Pre-operating expenses. So ito yung bago magbenta, bago makabenta at bago kumita, bago mag-acquire ng property o bago masimulan talaga yung asset, liabilities, and capital ng equity equation ng isang corporation, lahat ng expenses noon ay part ng organization cost. Kung hindi mo yan mako-consider na ordinary asset or ordinary liability or ordinary capital, then that is a pre-operating expense. So, share capital, it is the amount fixed by the corporate charter to be subscribed and paid in or secured to be paid by the shareholders. So, yan yung share capital. Stated value, the nominal parang itong definition na to, because this is taken from the book of Binbaysa and Mamlupisan. Parang itong capital share of stock. Anong pagkakaiba doon sa authorized share? The maximum, the total par value or stated value of the authorized share. So anong pagkakaiba nitong authorized shares sa capital stock share or share capital? Dito natin ilagay. So pare-pareho lang yung meaning. stated value, nominal value, ito, yun yung sinasabi kong wala dun sa face of the stock certificate. Walang nakalagay na face value or stated value. Ang tawag doon ay nominal value. O subscribed shares. Na-discuss na natin to. Yung shares na that for which promise have been made to be paid. Pero hindi lahat ng subscribed share ay nagiging issued share. So may malaki kang share capital or authorized capital na subscribe ang ibang authorized capital. Hindi lahat nabayaran. So, yung nabayaran, ang tawag doon ay issued share. Yung hindi nabayaran pa, subscribe pa lang. Kapag hindi pa nabayaran, despite repeated demands for payment, delinquent, subscribe capital. So, convertible preference shares. So, yung preference shares sometimes can be converted into ordinary shares. Kung gusto ng preference shareholder na mag-participate na sa election, pwede niya pa-convert into ordinary shares. Recapitalization, change in capital structure of a corporation by reducing the par value or stated value of the share capital or by exchanging par value for no par value share capital or vice versa. Ayan, ang tawag dyan binabago lang natin yung itsura ng capital share. Reverse share split, replacement of outstanding share by a smaller number of shares with a proportionate increase in the par or stated value share of capital. Ito yung split down. Ibig sabihin, nililiitan mo yung number ng shares. So, kunyari, 1,000 shares yan. Gusto mo lang gawin na 500 shares yan. Pwede yan. Pero tataasan mo yung par value or stated value ng share capital. Kasi na-issue mo na yan. Yung amount ng pera na yan, pumasok na. Ang pwede mo lang baguhin ay yung number of shares. Pero pag binago mo yung number of shares, dapat babaguhin mo rin yung par value or stated value to maintain the same amount of share capital. You split down. Binabawasan mo yung number of shares or ang tawag doon ay reverse share split. Share split naman, ito naman yung paparamihin mo. Replacement of outstanding shares by a greater number of shares with a proportionate decrease in the par value of the share capital. Or share split up. Papataasin mo naman yung share doon. Number of shares. Okay? Meron kang capital share na 1 million na issue mo noon for 1,000 shares of stocks. Gusto mo lumaki yung number ng shares. So, tataasan mo yung number ng shares. Gawin mong 10,000 shares. Pero, bababaan mo rin yung stated value or par value para yung 1 million na amount ay ma-maintain pa rin. Okay? Additional paid-in capital. A corporate capital arising from the investment by shareholders in excess of a par value or stated value of share capital. So anything beyond the stated value or par value of issued share will be considered as additional paid-in capital. Parang noon ang tawag yan, premium. Pero premium yata ang tawag yan. Pero dito sa book na to, additional paid-in capital pa rin. So we'll use the additional paid-in capital. Appropriated retained earnings. So, dalawa yung yung investment dun sa kung i-compare natin sa corporation, ang corporation sa partnership and sole proprietorship. Di ba dalawa yung capital? Beginning capital or beginning capital, if there's no additional capital, beginning capital plus profit or minus loss will be the ending capital. Pagka corporation na, yung investment ng owners or shareholders hati kasi hindi ipapasok sa capital yung income. Kasi 'di ba share capital yung capital niya. Eh kung nyari sole proprietor yan or partnership, A capital, B capital, 'di ba? Yung income ipapasok as a credit to A capital. Kung partnership, credit to A capital and B capital. Pero pagdating sa corporation, hindi na ganon. Ipapasok mo na yung income and loss dun sa retained earnings account. So merong retained earnings account. Nakasegregate ang capital investment ng shareholders at nakaseparate yung income ng corporation using the retained earnings account. Ngayon, sa retained earnings, diyan kinukuha yung amount for distribution as dividends to the stockholders. So kung magde-declare ng dividends para sa stockholders, kukuhanin yan sa retained earnings. Ngayon, kapag sinabi nating appropriated retained earnings, hindi mo yan madi-distribute for dividends. Kasi nakaset aside yan for a specific purpose. Kunyari, gustong bumili ng corporation ng mga importanteng makinarya para ma-advance yung services nila, magkakaroon ng appropriation of retained earnings. Hindi yun pwede ngayong ma-distribute for dividend as dividend. So, basta mayroong retained earnings at unappropriated yon, pwede yung i-distribute basta dineclare ng Board of Directors. So, book value per share. Anong ibig sabihin? Peso equity in corporate capital for each share of stock. It is the amount that a shareholder would receive for every share owned in case of corporate liquidation. So, yan yung ang makukuha ng bawat shareholder in case na mag-liquidate ang corporation. Cash dividends, dividends distributable in the form of cash. So maraming klase ang dividends. So pwedeng cash, pwedeng stock, pwedeng property. So kung ano yung dineclare na dividend, yun ang i-distribute. Ngayon, kung cash yan, ang tawag yan ay cash dividend. Contributed capital. Corporate capital arising from investment by shareholders. Deficit. Debit balance in the retained earnings account. So nagkakaroon ng sa partnership or sa sole proprietorship, wala tayong debit capital balance, no? Kasi lahat magkakasama dun sa sa capital account eh. Losses, income, withdrawals, nakasama sa capital account yun. Wala tayong debit balance ng capital account. Pero sa corporation, meron tayong debit balance ng retained earnings account. Kasi yung retained earnings naman ay parang summary or compilation ng mga business earnings and losses ng company or corporation. So pwedeng magkaroon ka ng deficit doon, retained earnings account. Kasi hindi pa naman apektado yung capital account, which is the shareholders account. So dividends, ito yung dinidistribute na income doon sa mga shareholders. So yung parang yung retained earnings account, pag kumita ka, nalugi ka, doon mo ilalagay. Ngayon, kapag kumita ka at wala kang masyadong lugi, pwede mong bawasan yun para maibigay mo as dividend sa shareholders. Dividend in arrears. Kunyari, nagde-declare lang yung Board of Directors ng dividends, pero hindi pa nila na babayaran talaga. So, mayroon tinatawag na dividend in arrears. Kasi may step i-declare muna ng board of directors na may dividend and then babayaran. Kung declare lang ng declare yung board of directors ng dividend pero hindi pa nababayaran, nagkakaroon ng dividend in arrears. Now, earnings per share. Amount earned during a given period of an ordinary share outstanding. So, magkano ba yung dineclare na dividend? Magkano yung ilan yung outstanding share? So, yun yung earnings per share. Dividends, property dividends, distributable in the form of non-cash assets. So, dapat ilagay natin ito dun sa katabi ng cash dividend. Ayusin natin ang ating lesson. Contributed capital. Lagay natin dito sa capital. Okay. So, dividends in arrears, earning per share, retained earnings. So, retained earnings, lagay natin dun sa may appropriated. Nauna yung appropriated kaysa sa retained earnings. Corporate capital arising from operation of the business. Its balance represents undistributed earnings of the company. It is also known as earned surplus. Okay? Ano pa ba yan? Share capital dividend. Ito yung invest na cash, invest na property, ito ang ibibigay as dividends dun sa owner ng share. Okay? So, sabi ko nga, tatlong klase, cash, property, or share dividends. Ito natin ilagay itong cash dividend. Itong dividends. Ayusin lang natin ang presentation. May earnings per share. Ito yung earnings per share. The amount earned during a given period on each ordinary share outstanding. So yung net income ng business, divide by number of shares outstanding, yun yung earnings per share. Okay, nakaayos ng ating. Ito na lang, deficit in a retained earnings account. So nakita nyo yung ano, yung mga terms na bago, no? Pag-aralan nyo, kabisaduhin nyo mabuti, intindihin nyo mabuti itong mga topics na to. Okay? Unawain nyo muna ito, i-visualize nyo. Kailangan nyo ng matinding imagination kasi hindi nyo to ordinarily na-encounter sa buhay nyo. So at this point, kabisaduhin nyo mabuti, unawaing mabuti, at i-discuss natin in details in the next video presentation. God bless, keep safe, and good luck sa inyong pag-aaral.